Okay, so welcome back, and now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about one-sided limits. So we're going to go back to one of the examples we did a while ago, or that I showed you, which was this function here, and here's the graph. Now notice that if we look at the graph, we see that the limit does not exist. Okay, but also if you approach 2, right, so as x approaches 2 from the left, this is approaching -1, okay? And as you approach 2 from the right, it's approaching +1. And you could do this by setting up the tables and plugging in the values in the calculator, and you'll see that indeed it is going to 2 different values. So since they're not going to the same value, we say the limit does not exist. So again, what we would say is that in this case, the limit as x approaches 2 of the absolute value of x minus 2 divided by the quantity x minus 2 does not exist. Now, that does not give us enough information about the graph though. Okay? So let's look at what's going on both sides. So what happens as we approach x from the negative side, which is on the left side? So as we approach from the left, or on the negative side of 2, we can see that this is going to be -1. Okay? And as we approach x equal to 2 from the right, or the positive side, we see that the value is +1. Okay? So we notice that there is a limit from one side of 2 and also on the other side of 2, and this is where the idea of one-sided limits comes in. Even though the limit does not exist at x equals 2, we still get more information when we look at where the function is approaching when we come from either side of that value, the given value, a. Okay, in this case, 2. Okay, so how would we write this? Well, the idea of a one-sided limit is that what is happening when we approach the value of x from one side. So we would say, okay, the limit as x approaches 2 from the negative side or from the left, we would put a negative sign up here, like where the exponent would be, we put a subtraction or a negative sign. So the way we read this is the limit as x approaches 2 from the left or from the negative side of the absolute value of x minus 2 divided by the quantity x minus 2 would equal what? Well, from the left, it's going to be -1. So this would be an example of writing symbolically a one-sided limit. The other side, so if we're approaching from the positive side or from the right, we would write it this way. The limit as x approaches 2 from the right or from the positive side of, again, we would have the absolute value of x minus 2 over the quantity x minus 2, and that would equal +1. And so this is what we would call the left-hand limit, and this would be the right-hand limit. And so these would both be one-sided limits. And that's it. So there's an example of one-sided limits.